Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm finally here with my Barbarian DPS build. This is the setup that I use and that I find to be the best one in Zariel's challenge. So it's not optimized for tomm or IC. I will show you the builds I use in there as well later. But this is strictly just for Zariel. And also, obviously, feel free to customize the build to fit your needs and maybe increase or decrease, if you want, the hit points, power, whatever you want. This is just highly optimized for the group I'm running with, and should be good for anyone running Zariel with an experienced group. Alright, so let's get started from the ability scores. So I'm running strength. 6 points in here means 1.5% extra physical damage, and 6 points into constitution, which means extra 16k points or 16k hit points or something around among those lines. If we were running dexterity instead of constitution, we would get less than 1% extra damage, so that wouldn't be beneficial. And for the equipment that I'm using, I'm going with Lion Guard's head, which is the best piece you can use in Zariel. Fancy Mask of Cormier is good. It's a good alternative, but it's not going to be up during phase 2 and phase 4, which are the 2 DPS checks, because you're fighting 2 enemies, not 1, so it's not going to be up. And then we have the scavenger piece. There were a lot of rumors about this piece that it was gonna get nerfed, but it didn't. It still works. It still gives you 10 stacks for 1% of your power, and that's the reason why it's still best in slot. And Spike Defender Vent Braces. So some people might ask why I'm running them together with a bar shield. I do because you hit yourself most of the times now with Bloodletter. Bloodletter received a buff and our damage increased since the last module, so you're gonna hit yourself with it most of the times. And you know, even when you don't, the very few times you don't hit yourself, you're still gonna have 5% damage resistance, which is great to have in Zariel, so good either way. And the Celestial Weapon set is better than the Lionheart set. So I'm not taking into account the Celestial Weapon bonus because it's very random and not so good for glyphs, for barbarians I mean. But even without the weapon set, Celestial's still gonna outperform Lionheart by 1% when your stamina is full, by 8% when your stamina is low. So around 3-4% in a full run, I would say. And on top of higher stats and higher power, obviously. Alright, so for the feed, I'm running the Rusted Iron Leggings. This is the best DPS piece that you can run. If your group is not very familiar with mechanics, or if you don't get healed enough during Scathing Light, it doesn't make sense to run them then, because you're most likely going to be dead if you're in a training group with, you know, unexperienced healers and stuff like that. But in an experienced group, you should run them. And for the artifact set, Madmate set is great and has some nice features on top of like Music Box. Music Box is not that great because you're not gonna get your daily back at the beginning of each artifact phase. You're most likely to get it after a few seconds, so it's not like great. And the Music Box set also doesn't proc off the Tunnel Vision mount power. It doesn't increase Tunnel Vision's damage by 15%. It doesn't proc off that one. And the IC set on the other side, the Call of Evil or whatever it is set, that one just gives you 2.5% extra damage, and also it doesn't feature a debuff artifact as, you know, part of the set. The nice thing about the Madmate set is that the Alistair Scepter is part of the set, and you can also run it as your main artifact. And this way you're getting the nice stats from it because it gives you power and hit points, which is great. And also you can run 3 journals and secondary artifacts, which means a lot of hit points. Alright, this is why it's the Madmate set is the best one for me. On top of the 5% extra damage you get when you're standing still. And you're standing still during most artifacts phase, so that's good. Then for the rings, I'm usually running the Striking Rings Veteran. It caps critical strike and gives you the melee bonus. The other melee perk that I'm getting is from the Ebonized Ward Ring. I already cap all my stats, so I decided to use this one to get extra defense and 2 defensive slots to get more hit points, so I could switch out hit points from other sources to put them into power. And this works good for me. If you don't have this ring, you can use the either the Ebonized Assault Ring or the Shadow Stalker that also boosts your tunnel vision damage, which is nice. And if you do it, you're gonna miss a bit of hit points, so you might need to switch around and use maybe defense on your companion so you can run more hit points. And alright, so for the shirt, the Ebony shirt, in my opinion, outperforms the Infernal Force one, but the Infernal one has more hit points and combined rating, so if you need it for extra stats and hit points for the first few runs, you can use that one as well. The difference is not going to be huge. The 4K pants are obviously the best ones, not only because of the 4K defense, but also because of the critical charge bonus. The Infernal pants don't have the critical charge bonus, and they also give you less defense. They have a slightly higher power and hit points, but that's not a good trade-off. So this pair is the best one. If you don't have it, then you can use either the Infernal ones or the 2k defense, 2k deflection, for example, with critical charge. Secondary artifacts are the journals. I'm using Darken because I don't need the stats from Envenomed, so the extra companion influence is nice. And the Scepter is active. I can also use the Frozen as a group artifact, but yeah, whatever my group needs. If you need to run a different debuff artifact, take out the Darkened, put the Scepter as a secondary artifact, and put whatever debuff you need to use as your main. You will see that your stats are still going to be good and capped. So, alright, let's see now for the enchantments. In the offensive slots, I'm using all Radiance plus, it's important, 1 Tenebrous enchantment. And defensive slots are all Radiance. Utility slots are darks to help help to cap all your stats. Tacticals are not needed for DPSs. They are barely needed for tanks, let alone for DPSs. And alright, my overload slots are the corrupt. I can buy as many as I want, and they're not limited as the Rage of Flames and the Bulwark of Brimstone. But if you want to use Bulwark of Brimstone, this is how my hit points would look like with it. In a group, when you're in a group, because of the VIP, your hit points are gonna go higher for another 10k. So I would be at 556k with the overload in a group. And alright, so for the armor enchantment, Bar Shield is the best and the only one the DPS can use in Zariel. Weapon enchantment, Bilethorn. Bilethorn is the best on single target for barbarians, unless the boss fight is very, very, very short, like let's say the phases for the second boss in IC. During any other boss fight, just go with a Bilethorn because it's better, even if it doesn't crit when it procs off Breath Strike. That's weird. I hope they fix it, but yeah, if you use Breath Strike, the proc from the Bilethorn you get one crit, which is weird. And alright, so what else to be said? On the main hand, I'm using Breath Strike modification because it's our main asset on single target. Sorry. And power and crit save on the offhand. My reinforcement kits are on the left, power. You can also use hit points if you need more hit points. On the right side, combat advantage, even if I'm already capped, but it's still nice to have them because there's not really any other choices. And alright, so I don't think you care about my appearance, so let's just skip it and go to the powers. So Relentless Lash, just use it once every 12 seconds or every time you come out of rage. For the bonus, Breath Strike will be your go-to at will for all the single target boss fights. It's less annoying than the last mod, but still annoying to use. Such a weird animation. And alright, so the encounters are Bloodletter, IBS, Frenzy. Keep in mind that Punishing Charge has the same magnitude as IBS, but significantly higher cooldown, so the overall DPS from it is lower than using IBS. And the daily you always want to use in Zariel is Savage Advance, the second one, and it's just Avalanche of Steel, but you're never going to use it, so you can just slot anything in there. And class feature, I'm going for Steel Blitz. That is now even more of a significant part of our damage since Breath Strike got a buff. And Barbed Strikes. The reason why Trample the Fallen is bad is because none of our encounters proc the first effect, and if you were to get an encounter to proc the first effect, you would have to run Punishing Charge, which would be already lowering our damage because you would need to take out IBS. And the second effect is just procced by the Storm on bosses. Bosses can't be controlled, so the only way to get the second effect to proc is when the Storm is up, which is just for 10 seconds every now and then. And alright, the feats, the first one doesn't really matter because it's for AoE. In AoE situations I use Miter Leap, but that shouldn't matter in if you're watching this video for Zariel. Blood Spiller, so the Bloodletter feat is way better than the IBS one, and you will see it, even if it makes you a self-killing machine. Over penetration, alright, so it's really important to say that you get the whole bonus from this, even if your arm pen isn't 2.5k over the cap. You just need the cap for the dungeon. So in Zariel, either you're running 90.1k arm pen or 100k, you are still getting the whole 10% bonus. It's being bugged till since module 16. You don't need any extra arm pen, you just need the arm pen you want for the dungeon you're running. The fourth one doesn't matter because it's for AoE. I'm running Skills Lamp because I use it on AoE, but again, it doesn't matter for Zariel. Relentless Battle Rage is still the best one because it allows you to have very nice rage up time, and yeah, even if our rage generation got increased, this is still awesome. And let's give a look at the boons. For the boons, you want to take all hit points. You want to take speed and companion influence. Then after that, put all the boon points you need into the offensive stats if you need to cap them, and just after that put everything else into power. For the tier 5 boons I went for crit 7 and recharge speed. I like the recharge speed for like slightly faster rotations, maybe getting an encounter of cooldown just before the boss goes away and dealing another 1.5 million damage. It's pretty nice. And then the master boon, so focus retaliation works this way. It's just the best one because it deals such a high damage. You proc it with an encounter, and then you get hit from the boss. You don't mirror the damage, you still get hit, but you hit the boss back for the amount of unmitigated damage he just hit you for. And guild boons are critical sev. If you have both power and critical sev boons, use the crit sev. It's better for DPSs. And defense, hit points obviously, and revive sickness, which is very nice to have in Zariel. Companions, so I'm not running defense on my companion now because I'm using the Ebonized Ward Ring, but you can do that as well if you want to, and you want to run with maybe less hit points. This is my setup. I'm using Bullet, but you can use Quasit as well. Shouldn't be difficult to cap all the stats you need anyway. The announcement is for crit sev because it's the best one, way better than the power one. And alright, so these are my bonuses. So 8k defense, power, this is the Iron Golem, Minstrel, and Compy. Just one thing here, if you're not sure, should I run Deep Crow, Batiri? Deep Crow is better than Batiri on single target for glyphs. And I mean, either Deep Crow or obviously a Raptor, even more so if you're running Raptor, because if you're in the Raptors group. But even if you're not, Deep Crow still outperforms Batiri. And if you're interested on the maths that I made to to get this result, just ask me in the comments and I will tell you. Mounts. So I'm using 3 Gladiator's Guiles, Artificer, Persuasion. Just use one Artificer because they don't stack. And Worldly Inspiration is totally useless in this dungeon, but I'm running it in other loadouts, so that's the reason why it's here. And I need it for Brutality Insignias anyway. All the Insignias are Dominance, and I need it for Brutalities to cap my arm pen, but that's about it. And obviously my bolster is capped to 100%, so maybe your stats will look a bit different. Feel free to adjust them however you need to. And I went for the Encounter Powers color because our at-wills already have like a bunch of additive damage bonuses on them. So like we use Breast Strike during the raid, so that's an extra 14% damage on Breast Strike, which is additive. And same goes for like the thing we have on the main hand, the additive bonus of 10% extra damage on Breast Strike. So let's say that our at-wills already have our at-will, because I'm just talking about Breast Strike, has more additive damage bonuses than our encounters do, and that's why I went for encounter, because it's gonna increase our encounters damage more than what an at-will color would do. But they're very close, they're performing very close to each other, let's say, so either one I think it will just be fine. I prefer this one personally. And same goes for the recharge speed one. So I prefer this one for slightly faster rotations. Someone is using the crit sap as well. It's very close. I don't like the action points, so either recharge speed or crit sap. I personally prefer this one again. And the third one is movement speed, just because of, I like the movement speed in any content I'm running. The extra incoming heal is not gonna make it or break it for me. The last 2 colors are kind of redundant anyway, so I didn't even bother buying them. And alright, so for your power, your combat power, if you're in a group for Zariel, make sure you have like a couple decent options, like the Tunnel Vision or Giant Toad Tongue Lash. It's the same thing, they just have different names, but it's the same thing. And T-Rex, Swarm, stuff like that, or the Griffin, even the Bulat, whatever you want. And for the equip power, 15k power is obviously the best one, Dominant Force. But another honorable mention is Ferocity. If you're in the tanks group, you will get stacks of Ferocity pretty easily, because I think they have around like a 10% chance of proccing, but it's not stated anywhere, so I'm not sure. I can't be sure. And every stack will give you 4% extra damage, up to 3 stacks for 12% extra damage, which would be way better than 15k power, but the stacks are not always up. And this is always just if you're staying in the tanks group, because otherwise in the DPS it won't proc as much. It just considers the members that are getting hit in your group, so just keep that in mind. Alright, and this is it for the mount. I'm gonna show you my rotation, like a 1-minute rotation on that I do in Zariel, let's say. So when we start, let's say I go in, I hit a couple of times, then we have artifacts. So what I do is I use slash, then I go for my scepter. I wait a few seconds for everyone to use their artifacts, and then I go for my encounters. My rage is up, I pop it, and then I use quickly my combat power and my daily. And that's it. And I keep using at-wills. When I come out of rage, you will see I can use my encounters in the opposite order. I don't like to use frenzy in raid unless the boss is gonna phase, so that's why I'm using it this way. And as you can see again, like I come out, frenzy has still like a bunch of seconds of cooldown, so I just pop my rage early. And when I'm out of rage, I can use slash again, frenzy, wait for Bloodletter and IBS to be out of cooldown and pop my rage again. This rotation has a very high rage up time, and I find it to work great. So yeah, this is it. And for my potions, I'm using, as you can see, Sorbet, Superior Reflexive Potency, the Prime Rib, and the Wildstorm. and this, I'm not even using Invocation Blessing, and these are my stats with them. Alright, and for your potions bar, you can, I'm running 2 Alliance Battle Horns, making sure that your sorbet is the first thing in your inventory, so if you die, you can just go in your inventory and pop it again very quick. And Nelson, obviously, it can save you like a lot of times. And if you don't have the Battle Horns, you can use Tears of Bahamut, but be careful with them. You can use also like the Divine Holy, the Volatile Holy Water to reduce the boss's damage during Weight of Virtue. That's great, because it's like additional debuffs on the boss that anyone can use. And yeah, so that's it. I hope this video helped you. And yeah, so this is the way I run Zariel on my Barbarian. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you have any doubts. And yeah, have good fun in Zariel. And yeah, see you guys.